Welcome back to the Nano Cruising Podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Marceau. If this is your first time coming to this podcast, this is a podcast about dinghy cruising, trailer sailing, and also we have SUP, as you might have heard. Anything small to travel in the water, that's what we talk about. So today we have Roy Schreyer. Roy designed multiple boats, but really probably one of the interesting one is a very small houseboat, but very comfortable so that his wife could come with him in all these adventures on Georgian Bay. So today I'm joined by Roy Schreyer. He's a lifelong small boat sailor and designer who knows the waters of Georgian Bay like the back of his hand. He's more than that, really. When his wife found sailing uncomfortable, Roy put his creativity to work in designing a compact yet incredibly comfortable trailing houseboat. Before we go into that, you've got a lot of design, but before we go into that, Roy, thank you for joining us. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a while. I always like to see where people get their inspiration of small boat boating. So you spent a lifetime around boats and on the water. When you think back, what was the moment of experience that first made you fall in love with small boats and that set you on this lifelong path of small boat cruising and then designing them?
To be honest with you, my parents, I wasn't around boats much at all, but living here in Wasaga Beach, longest freshwater beach in the world, I might add, I was always swimming or on the water, but watching boats. Right. And as a teenager, I wanted my own boat, and I bought an old smoke damaged canoe, and started. We're blessed here. We have the Nottawasaga River, and it floods. So most of the river is packed with cottages on the busy part, but the upper part of the river has swamps and it floods. So nobody dares build anything. But it was like the perfect little getaway for my friends and I to take off in the canoes and go. We took off for 2 weeks paddling upstream because nobody would give us a ride. And from that, we camped, all those adventures. Like that was my teenage years from about 13 on. So small boats, the fun can be had in a simple canoe. And I was having a blast in canoeing. And then I have a buddy who likes sailing, and he basically, first one time on the canoe, we put up blankets and on sticks to catch the wind that pushed us down the lake. And that was revolutionary to me because holy crap, my arms aren't sore. I don't have to paddle. I thought, right, why would anybody paddle if the wind's at your back? Because sometimes we'd canoe up the river only to be canoeing downriver thinking, great, we got the current, but the wind was dead on our nose and blowing us back up the river. So we loved finding simple ways, learned the eddies, learned to read the rocks, the standing waves and stuff like that. And all that came in handy when we, started boating on Georgian Bay because we got lots of rocks and lots of interesting places to go that aren't charted.
I can attest to that.
But the sailing part, I had the canoe and I decked over I got a different canoe. It was free on the side of the road, gunnels, everything was rotted. I turned it into a double paddle kayak kind of thing, decked it over, and I would surf the waves on Georgian Bay, canoe out into the waves and surf them. I made a bit of a skirt. Everything's jury rigged all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I'd surf it. My buddy saw that and he wanted to try it. So he and I both went out. It had wide enough. This is when I already knew Dianne. So she basically had her seat up front. But bottom line is, he and I went out and surfed our way back to shore, and he loved it. But with two of us, we dove the nose in and crashed and rolled more often than not. But he said, look, if you think this is fun, I'll take you out sailing. And this guy, Mike Matthews, he took me out in the big waves in a small dinghy sailboat, open sailboat. And my job was simply to tend the jib and get the centerboard down as quickly as we could because we had to sail right out into the wind on an angle, obviously, the tack out to get into deeper water. So my job was to keep the centerboard as low as possible over the sand berms.
Right.
What ended up happening, though, we were way out doing a great sail, and I'm used to a canoe, so I'm feeling safe as anything in this probably 5 foot wide by 14 foot boat, feeling very safe, decked over on the front deck and everything, and hiking out from time to time and doing my thing. And he's in charge, so I figure he knows what he's doing. No problem. Trouble is the centerboard broke. We snapped the board.
Oops.
And the boat, I lost my balance and lost the jib sheet. The jib was knotted at the end, caught in the cleat, blew out. So billowing out basically like a chute, you know. And we got turned around, and now we're surfing down the waves. But my canoeing instincts had me grab a paddle and yell at him to grab a paddle. Oh, and the rudder kicked out. So he had the rudder in his hand, but it wasn't doing any good. And we ended up surfing a series of waves all the way back to shore. And I thought, oh, that was great. That was fun. And my buddy sits there and says, you don't realize how close we came to dying. but
so that's what got you hooked. Almost
I was
dying.
hooked. I thought, this is fun. This is a hoot. But it's funny, when I'm with him, I'm very secure in really rough conditions, no problem. When I'm by myself, I feel kind of vulnerable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when the waves kick up and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm a cautious sailor.
Nice.
And I'm self-taught. I never took lessons. He's showed me stuff and comes out with me from time to time. But it's his fault. And Dianne playfully irritates him every once in a while, just pointing out it's your fault that Roy got into sailing.
You go. We'll get to dying soon, believe me. Yeah.
And to make the story go further, so I was longing for a sail. I was reading about Sharpies, rural. What was it? Rural. Oh gosh, what's his name? He wrote a Sharpie book, and I read it. Monroe and all Egret and all these, historic Chappelle and all these historic Sharpie builders.
Mm-hmm.
Read everything I could find about them and wanted a Sharpie bad. Had no time to build. We were building our house at the time, so I had no time. I needed something cheap. The only thing realistically is used. Yeah. And I found an old Olympic star, a 1955 Olympic star. I modified it, took the 800-pound bulbous off of it because I wanted a shallow draft, center-boarded cruiser, and I put a small cabin in it that you basically had 2 bunks in it, but very tight, but D never really cared for that.
Right,
so
right.
We did guy trips,
yes.
as you know.
Yes.
That's most sailors go off on the guys go off on their own. It's a novelty to have the ladies come out, and so you appreciate them when they do come out and join you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that I had that boat for 20 years and cruised 90% of the shoreline. I managed to cruise with my buddies and I on the bay. So
nice. So you feel this early connection that's influenced you in the kinds of boat you design and the way you approach exploring places like Georgian Bay?
They had to be cheap, get you into places much like a canoe can, because the interest is in the shoreline, in my humble opinion. And if you want shelter, oftentimes you got to get over a gravel bar or a tight channel or up a creek to really feel comfortable sitting out a horrible storm, which in Whisper, we sat out horrible storms where you know about the sesh where the water can build up on one side. You know, we snuck into one channel and by the end of the storm, the next morning, the boat was on its side, almost dried out, and it had to be light enough that, you know, a couple guys could push it off again. Right.
Right.
So size matters. I didn't want anything that I couldn't handle to shove off a rock or a shoal or, you know, because I hit things. So especially when you're constantly challenging yourself to go explore up that creek or that bay that nobody else will go in, right?
Right. One of the really admirable things you do is you've built your philosophy really about about your wife's comfort too. So tell me a little bit about that, your wife's comfort. It's a big part of shaping your design, obviously, and how her
Well,
perspective shift the way you think about how
you're,
you make
you're
boats.
thinking I'm a far nicer character than I am. I actually was building a sailboat, but one crow. Basically, it was a crow. I didn't
Oh, I
know
thought
as
Crow
much.
came later on. Okay.
It
Okay.
did, but I had started a version of crow. And D was, I wanted a big, comfortable bed. I wanted couches we could sit in, all in a small package. So it was a pram bow scow design. And I had it, had it sketched up, and I was starting to cut the marine ply. I bought the marine ply, and D had a heart to heart with me. And I wanted so badly to get her out, and I was convinced I could get her to like sailing if only I made a more stable platform and a more comfortable accommodation, which Crow is amazing. And D will go out on, when I kind of motor sail, she'll come out on a run with me once in a while. But generally, she's now spoiled. She likes Dianne Rose so much. But she stopped me dead cold and said, Roy, if you really want me to come out, and after 20 years of my experience, D did a lot of day trips with Whisper, in which I was not so nice, and I was ignorant of how to bring sailing into somebody else's life who's a little more nervous on the water. And the mistake was that when you go boating, you should go pick the weather, pick the place, and not prioritize going at all costs. And sometimes I went at all costs because Saturday, the rule was, okay, you're working on the house. I had things to do. Well, Sunday would come around, and that was my boating day, and the weather was horrible. Well, I still wanted to go boating, so I drag her out, and then we found ourselves burying the nose of the boat in big swells and waves and scaring the crap out of your wife. Well, does she trust you to go out anymore in conditions like that? When the answer should have been, okay, we're going to go boating Saturday or Sunday, whichever day's best, and we'll work the other day. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that took a little bit. I already burnt my bridges. So with sailing, I burnt my bridges. D was fed up, didn't want to do it anymore. So I did listen to her when she said I'd come out more, because there were so many beautiful sights. I wanted to take her overnight, and she did one overnight with Whisper, but no more. She said, nope, it's a tent. I put a tent up in the cockpit, and it worked really well. And then I had my little berth. My son and her slept on a big platform, like a queen bed in the cockpit, in a tent. But she couldn't see out so much. So, there's bears up north, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
everything to make her nervous. So at any rate, that was the last time she went overnight. We rented some cabins and stuff, but that's expensive, and we had a really one nice trip on Lake Nipissing. We stayed for a week and explored day tripping in Whisper and stuff. So we had a lot of experience. And actually, it was in Lake Nipissing where we passed a couple who were houseboating on an island in a tiny, I think it was a Casablanca design that they built.
Oh, wow.
And I remember Dee saying, well, if you built me something like that, I'd be happy coming out more as well. And I said, well, maybe one day, right? But then I was fixated on the sailing thing. But that's what came to mind kind of when she sat me down and smartened me up. So we ended up, I changed gears and started designing a houseboat and, doing mock-ups, sitting on boxes and stuff to get the design. And it had to be small. It had to draw a little bit of water, just a low, shallow draft, so that I can still poke into places. I hate motors, by the way. They're problematic. Half the time with my sailboat, the motor would quit, and at least the sails or rowing would get you home. So all my boats have oars. All my boats, well, no, they don't all have sails, but they have to have a separate system to get you going. Right?
Yes, right. How did you balance making it small enough for a trailer and yet big enough to be comfortable in the water? Very comfortable from what I've seen. So
Basically, the issue was a helm. Helms, as soon as you started looking at a dedicated helm, the design expanded quite a bit. So again, like I say, I spaced everything out in boxes and everything else, and I came across a cruiser that had a couch that basically the helm was a fold up seat that folded up so that all of a sudden the couch became the helm.
mm-hmm.
And that was enlightening. And I thought, okay, I could do something like that.
Right.
So on Dianne Rose, I initially intended to create, like a fold up seat back to have a proper helm. But it turned out the couch, and I tried stadium chairs originally as well, just sitting on the couch with a stadium chair. But I found I never sat with my back to Dianne
Mm-hmm.
or to guests. I always sat sort of skewed sideways, and we would have our cooler in the aisle, and we'd have snacks and whatnot there. So naturally, my hand had to get into the snacks. And it was very easy, actually, because it's not like a car. You don't have to have your hand on the steering wheel constantly. You can just have one hand tapping it once in a while and a glance over your shoulder to see where you're going. So once you got rid of the helm and just had a footwell, you could have a decent couch, and that shrank the design.
Mm.
So basically,
Right.
Dianne Rose is 17 feet.
Okay.
And I debate sometimes if I would add another foot, but realistically, it all works out. It has a small enclosed head. It's comfortable enough that you can hang your clothes still in there, your jackets and whatnot, and still do what you need to do. We migrated to a composting toilet. We tried portable toilets, but found, they're heavy. You got to deal with water all the time and everything else. Composting toilet, we use half peat moss. I make sawdust, so that is convenient to use it up. So 50-50, and it doesn't smell, and it's light to carry and clean. It takes longer before it fills up. So all good things. And we have an actual toilet seat on ours, because I made a backing for it, basically a box that straps the pail into position, and then the toilet seat attaches to the box, so it makes it more stable and comfortable. It feels just like going on a regular toilet, right?
Right.
So at any rate, sorry, I diverted to toilets. This is
Everybody always wants to know about it. It's a good thing you cover that. So
yeah, and
I get a lot of those questions.
Just to dip a little bit more into that, we've traveled to islands where there haven't been facilities, and frankly, people have to go behind trees or wherever, and it's a mess. The way we do it, I have a shovel. I hike into the woods. I don't deposit anything just on the ground near the water or anything. Dig a little hole and toss it in, clean it out, and we're good to go. Throw more compost in, and we're good to go. And so I don't feel the least bit guilty after visiting some of these island sites where there haven't been thunder boxes, as common where we go.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't been any facilities, and honestly, it's a mess. And people have basic needs, and if it's not addressed,
Right.
of course it gets messy that way. So
Yeah.
so I'm really pleased. The toileting honestly was key for a woman's comfort.
Right.
The I actually tested it for a year before Dianne. I said, please just try it, and she loves it now. So she finds it very, very clean, very easy to use, and it doesn't bother her at all. So she's happy with it. So I think if you're going to bring your bride with you, you got to offer certain comfort levels, right? So the enclosed head is part of it. So it worked out great. It's 32 inches and by 36 inches. So it worked out quite well space-wise. And then the little kitchenette opposite it worked out exactly the same. So the bulkhead, the side bulkheads all matched up, right?
Perfect.
So it made construction a little easier. And maybe I should tip into construction because I had my little dinghy that I designed. That was the first design I did. it was a test to see if I could design with two center frames and egg crate, the old egg crate styles
Mm-hmm.
where everything just locks together.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought forms were a waste of time and waste of money. So I thought if you just egg crate all your ply sheets together with some framing, that would be a easy, quick way to build something and make it super strong as well, because
Mm-hmm.
you basically have two solid frames going down either side.
Mm-hmm.
And as it happens with the dinghy, it created the sides for the bench seat, the center bench seat down the length of the boat.
Perfect.
With Dianne's Rose, it created the aisle. So
Right.
the face of the bench seats became the aisle area, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I beefed up that center full length frame, the two of them, to be almost like I-beams. So the decorative wainscoting is part of the structure.
Mm-hmm.
It added strength, and so Dianne's Rose turned out really tough and rugged as a result. I've run it right up on the center of a stump where it was with two guests aboard, where it was teetering back and forth because it was perfect on the pivot center, So and it handled it. We had a design Jersey girl from New Jersey area. He ran his boat up right up on a rocky shoal. He was in 30 feet of deep water, and all of a sudden crashed into the shoal, and basically the plywood panel indented and popped back out. He chewed up his runner and everything like crazy, but he pulled one screw out, was able to cut off whatever was hanging, and continued his vacation after he plugged the little hole. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's not
Good
often
stuff.
at full speed, which isn't fast, but still,
Yeah.
his boat was a 22 foot, I think, 22 foot version of our boat, because the way our boat's designed, it can be expanded quite easily.
Okay.
So his boat had a lot of momentum and a lot of weight behind it. So to actually survive and not be in the bottom of the drink was pretty impressive, I thought.
For sure.
The construction is fairly straightforward. Like I say, it egg crates together. Literally, you are leveling and squaring all the parts, and that makes the construction suitable for an amateur.
Right.
The joints are butt joints for the most part, with a few rabbet joints to, fit things a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I should note that the hull, everybody asks, is that the flat bottom? No, it's not. It's flat 4 feet down the center length, and the sides 2 feet on either side V up to just below the water line.
Right.
And that's what gets it to track well. It's good with windage. It handles wind fairly well because, again, the roof is cambered down quite a bit. So on a profile, it really doesn't have much more windage than a motorboat with a high side and
Definitely.
its cabin.
Definitely.
So yeah, and with the tracking, and it has 4 runners. And I also envisioned a creek.
Mm-hmm.
A creek is always usually, we hit rocks sometimes when we assume a creek is deeper in the middle, but usually it's a bit deeper in the middle. So I can get up a creek because the sides flare up, right?
Right.
Because and it also handles waves better that are broadside or swells broadside, because it isn't being forced up by a deep corner and then forced back the other way. So the ride is smoother as a result.
What about cruising and this compared to sailing experience? How do you've done both, so how does that compare?
Oh, I'm getting sailing is I love sailing. I miss sailing. But I love my wife and I like her company. So, but I like the peace of sailing. I like not relying on a motor. When I do go out with Crow, I usually try to do, if I don't care if the wind's light and everybody's motor sailing away from me, I like to just have the sails, go easy, and yet my sailboat handles pretty good winds and waves as well because of its shape. It's quite that would be Crow I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's quite a unique boat as well. Whisper, which was an Olympic Star class sailboat, I learned to appreciate her arced bottom. She had a lot of rocker in her, and she had a cross section that was arced, and it handled it. It didn't slam; it swooshed the water out of the way. Its belly would get filled with my gear, so I didn't even have a lot of ballast in it. But for a week's long cruise or 4 or 5 days or what we do, by the time you have your water, battery, all your canned food, whatever you're taking down stored in bilge lockers low in the boat, that was the ballast. That's when she sailed the best, because all of a sudden now she just kind of when the waves and swells got big, she was arced already for that trough, you know what I mean? The throw or whatever you call it, you know? She was already arced, so she just lifted and dropped and didn't sit there and pitch and pull a heck of a lot. So I learned to appreciate the arc. So I mimicked that with Crow, which I did in large panels, which is a difficulty, but the way she's designed, it actually comes together really nicely. It's basically I use a cone shape for the stern, but then the stern, those two panels, one 4 foot, another roughly 24 inches. They form a cone shape going to the belly, and then it's V'd. And then there are 3 panels that rise up to the bow, and where the V is, there's a bit of torturing, but with 3/8 plywood, it comes together in a nice smooth seam. So it worked out really, really well that the bow comes up, and with her 2 bilge keels, they're shallow bilge keels, they sort of supported the seam as well and hid the little bit of squareness that was there, if you know what I'm saying. And then I figured for sure I'm going to hit stuff right down the middle. So I went with a double layer of 12-ounce cloth down the middle to round it, to fake a nice round there as well. And then it was easy at the bow panel, the bow transom, I guess you'd call it, but the pram, it was easy then to just torture those 3 panels into a nice arc.
Right.
So it worked out really well. And Crow doesn't need a heck of a lot of ballast. Again, it's mostly gear and everything secured low in lockers, that she feels like a keelboat with their hard chine. Once the chine digs in, it stands up really well. So it's confidence building. But she's forgiving too. The balance, I think she's a yawl.
Okay. You have a mizzen that's right by...
It's stepped ahead of the rudder.
Just ahead of the rudder, yes.
So the hull shape really makes Crow, and Crow only draws 10 inches when she's just running flat with the motor on, and maybe 12 to 14 when she's heeled over and with the bilge keels. With all that arcing, the bilge keels are unique. They're only a couple inches deeper than the belly of the hull because they're flared out to the sides.
Right.
So when they're heeled, the outer keel is at a 90 to the water. And I also put a good deal of surface area. I ran the bilge keel straight past the rise to the bow in the front, so that it goes straight for a while and gains area, and then it rises more quickly to the bow. And that with a heavy skeg, I liked what Whisper had. I kept the rudder, but I changed it to a longer Sharpie rudder and cut down the deep skeg that it had. And that the skeg, I left it to protect the rudder, which many times I'd run up and into the gravel or whatever, but it always protected the post. I liked that format, so I did the same in Crow. But to get a little more bite, I put a bottom plate on the rudder on Crow.
Right.
So that she got a little bit more bite. And it's turned out really well. And it has a full queen bed in it. actually wider than a queen, but a hair shorter, I'll say. But there's a couple access. There's a center access area that if you got long toes, you could stick your feet in there. You can sleep fully on the bunk and have like a queen bed. And then it has two 32-inch bench seats, basically benches. I call them couches.
Let's go back to design a little bit.
Yep.
Tell me about some IP accidents where something you tried turned out maybe better or worse than you expected. I'm sure you have a lot of that. How did that?
Well, that's interesting because we were talking about crow, and the bilge keels weren't big enough. So she did go to wind, but she dog-legged her way into the wind, and you needed all your sails up to get into the wind. And when it's a real blow, you maybe don't want all your sails up to try and get into the wind, and you leg even more. So you were doing a fair bit of tacking to get up. And so I tried putting, Matt Layden with his chine runners.
There's a chine runners on a Paradox. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I had the privilege of meeting Matt at Sail Oklahoma.
Right.
Mike Mooney's and Jackie Mooney's
Yes.
had that get together, and it was a great experience. So I got to see that. So I ended up adding aluminum L channels, and they improved the to the bilge keels, and that improved the performance a little bit, but still not to my liking. And so my buddy suggested a centerboard, but that would wreck my whole concept of keeping the cabin free. So I ended up putting a lee board, and it turned out
Lee board's the way to go. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it turned out the lee board didn't have to be as large as a traditional lee board. It could be a single lee board, much like McCallick does on his boats.
Mm-hmm.
But the degree on the side was 13 degrees on the side, which is much what you end up similar to what you heel on the boat when it was sailing. And it happened that the curve of the hull, it was perfectly balanced to put the lee board, pivot it right in the center of the curve of the hull, where it also had added reinforcement. So that it was like it was divine that it all worked
It was meant
out.
to be, right.
And the lee board turned out to be a great success. When you're in deep water,
So tell me about some of your favorite adventures with your wife, about the boat and the places you've seen. Any stories that stand out that will make people lust for these places?
We have the Bark Lake trip coming up, and that's like our cottage country. When we go there, we feel we're at the cottage, so to speak. So that's near and dear, and you got to come out to the waterfalls with us.
Right.
There is so much to see there. There's Hay Bay that has it's like a prehistoric hidden gem. There's just so much to see, and you have that beautiful beach that we pull up to, and you have bonfires and watch the sun going down and early morning sunrises. That's one of our favorite spots to go, and it just feels like your spa day every day going for a swim. This upcoming trip, Dee and I will end up in the water, but it's not quite spa day. Summer times is more spa day, right? With the warm water and stuff.
Yeah,
but
you two are
we'll
really
go
tough.
in anyways. If it's cold,
I know you will go in.
Well, Dianne, do you have any fond memories of your best memories of being out in the boat?
Every memory is great.
Every memory is great. Nothing to do with the boat, just with her husband.
There's not one actually. There's. I enjoy all the adventures we go on. You know what I mean? It's beautiful.
You know what I miss?
Beautiful scenery, beautiful people we boat with. It's great. We love it. I love when the water's warm to go swimming. You know what I mean? And the people. It's nice to get together with the people and enjoy their company.
Well, we're notorious for sleeping in, as you noticed.
Actually, with this group, the Can-Am, I have to say, they're not so fussy. Everybody does their own thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're free to do your own thing, and then you meet up for the evening and have a sometimes have a bonfire, or sometimes you just chat and then you go to bed. You know what I mean? There's no regiment about the Can-Am, and I love that, right?
Right.
So
Right.
great. So no, it's great. I enjoy my Dianne Rose. I like my comfort. That's one thing I will not give up, because I won't go out otherwise.
I try to convince her. Come on, Dianne. Come out and crow more.
You can't.
It would help.
You can't
plan
after what you've given her. You can't now. You
I
can't
know,
go
it would help
backwards.
plan sales
You're done.
if they saw a woman enjoying the boat, right?
Yes.
No, I'm not a sailor.
But I
I'm
spoiled
sorry.
her.
I'm
No, I
sorry.
spoiled her. I should have never changed gears and built a houseboat. I should have just gotten her used to the sailboat first.
No,
so she loved it.
No, you might not be together anymore. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
I'm too old to change. Well, I can't say I'm too old. I'm too.
It's so nice to see you come and enjoy.
I like my comfort.
I'll be honest with you. I'm spoiled a little bit too. Now, I'll dive into Mini D then. So,
okay, guys, I'm heading in. Nice speaking with you,
nice seeing you.
Stefan. Are we going to see you at Berkeley?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll see you. I'll have cookies for everybody.
Absolutely. I'll be hanging close to you guys.
Yeah, 25 boats coming? Let's see.
It could be big.
Everybody will get one cookie, sorry.
So I'll dip into Mini D.
Why Mini D? That was my question, really.
Well, it's interesting because, like I say, I was going to build a bigger version of Dianne Rose, and thank God I didn't. It turned out my hip got really bad, and I had to have surgery. But Mini D was in part because I ended up seeing our guys in our group building small box boats. And I thought, geez, smaller, I'm noticing it's mostly just single guys out on the water. Make a smaller boat that's comfortable, that maybe your bride could be comfortable in too, might be a great challenge. And after designing Crow, which was during my recovery for my hip surgery, I made a model of Crow because I thought I can't build a bigger boat, it turns out. And that's when Crow got built. After I made the model, I thought it's got to be built. I had to build her because the model was so cute and I knew it would work, and I wanted to prove it worked.
Right.
And I guess my stubborn side, once you envision something in your head, you want to see it real and you can do it. So you dive in. But after I thought I actually got Osprey on the go after that, and then it was Mini D's turn. But that was gradually, it kind of sifted into my brain watching the box boats, how well they did out in even rough water. I was shocked.
I was pretty impressed.
Brian was beside us in big swells and stuff, and he just bobbed up and down. And if you have a boat that can be closed up tight and you have it well balanced and it has a bit of weight, it's not too light. Even Todd's smaller boat, he's designed it so he's got his center walkway, so his weight stays central in the boat. It did remarkably well. So observing that, I thought, surely I could build a boat that's smaller than our Dianne Rose that would also work just as well, especially what I learned from Crow. Because with Crow, I raised the deck and I got the proportions so that you could get your legs under the framing of the front deck area so that your feet extended under the deck. And with Dianne Rose, under the deck is storage. So the sleeping is fully in the cabin.
Right.
With right there, by getting your legs under the front deck, you could shorten the boat quite a bit.
So what's the difference in size?
Mini D is 13 foot 8 inches.
Oh wow! So that's almost 5 foot, 5 foot shorter, I guess. Eh?
Yeah, and but it has an overhanging helm seat, cantilevered over the stern, to make the cockpit feel bigger, and so you have comfortable room there. So I call it 14 feet really, but it's actually quite short, and it's only 6 foot 4 inches wide. And I was trying for 6 foot, but it needed that 4 feet because I also can set up a queen bed across the berths, so across the hull. So I got the proportions, but I bumped the deck up, and it actually, I think, looks really nice with the deck bumped up, and then a scallop that returns on the gunnel returns down to the cockpit height. And it also increased the freeboard on the bow. And with her being narrow, she has the same frame layout as what Dianne Rose. When we had her out in Brit, we were out in some good swells and chop, and it punched through really smooth, and it was solid sounding, and it, like Brian's LOL or Kelly's at the time, but now Bumblebee, Rick's boat. They handle it really well. So I thought, geez, if I do the same similar hull design with only the center 4 feet being flat and 16 inches roughly V'd up to just below the waterline, I think she would track really well. And I also I went with 2 solid runners, and I deepened the runners, and she tracks amazingly well. The upshot of that tale is how much you can learn by hanging around with like-minded people who are creative and aren't scared to just go build out of crappy material and come out with a gem. And it maybe only lasts 10 years, but you pay now $40,000 to $60,000 for a brand new car, which can be rusted out in 10 years and no good. And yet people are nervous to spend a little money on plywood and go build their own boat. If you have to get on the water, there's cheap ways of doing it.
Definitely.
And I try to make my designs that, use marine ply. That would be best. Use all the best if you can. But if, you're only young so long, so build now and get out there, right?
Correct.
Is the saying, right?
Correct.
A smaller boat gets you on the water, and really the adventure is the same sunset we'll all see. It's the same sunrise. We can anchor in the same anchorage. So if you can minimize your space, and I've always been good with small spaces. So, I felt it was a challenge I could take on. And Dianne Rose is perfect for Dee and I as a couple. Mini D is good to go out for 3 or 4 days in Mini D as well. She said she's comfortable in it for a few days, but for the longer trip, she wants the comfort of our Dianne Rose. So, but Mini D, I should mention, has 7-foot bunks, can be made into a queen size bed, has comfortable couches to sit in. Has a little head space too, just like Dianne Rose, that we can use and have privacy, and has a little kitchenette. So
nice.
What one feature I like actually the cockpit where you can step out a bigger door and hang out the back and throw a rod in the water and sit there and fish off the back. And I can do that with Dianne Rose too, but it's Dianne Rose back deck is more utilitarian in my view. Fill up gas, gas boxes are there, but you can sit on the gas boxes and fish as well, right?
Nice.
But it's not someplace you naturally gravitate to for a comfortable hanging out. Mini D's is nice that way. So
thank you, Roy, for your time. It's been wonderful to hear about that. And
take care, Stefan. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Roy is a good storyteller. Hope you enjoyed it. For the next episode, we have Howard Rice. Most Escamp builders and sailors know him very well. Howard is a fascinating story. He's an American smallboat sailor and canoeist, and he's got a lot of great stories. A great storyteller too, so do come back for that. Thank you again for my listeners for being here, for spreading the word. Join our mailing list at nanocruising.com to keep track of episodes and be notified of new episodes. Join a Facebook group to discuss and share your plans and ideas. And last but not least, seize your own adventure.